It was the morning of March 27, 1992, when the peaceful town of Kottayam, Kerala, woke up to shocking news. The young nun, Sister Abhaya, was found dead in a well inside the St. Pius X convent. The 19-year-old had been living at the convent, preparing to dedicate her life to religious service. But her sudden and tragic demise raised immediate suspicions. What could have led a young nun to drown inside the very place that was supposed to protect her? The body was pulled from the deep, dark well. The initial conclusion was suicide. The local police hurriedly closed the case, stating that Sister Abhaya must have taken her own life. But something felt off. There were no signs of distress in her personal life, no known history of mental illness, and most disturbingly, the convent seemed oddly eager to accept the suicide theory. However, when forensic experts examined Sister Abhaya's body, they found something alarming: multiple head injuries. These were not consistent with drowning, but instead pointed to a violent attack. It became painfully clear this was not a suicide, it was a murder. The question now was, who would want to kill a young nun? And more importantly, why? From the very start, the investigation was plagued with problems. The local police, instead of treating the case as a homicide, quickly labeled it a suicide. Crucial evidence was mishandled, key witnesses were ignored, and most troubling of all, the case was closed within a few weeks, without a proper autopsy report. But the people of Kottayam were not convinced. Journalists, activists, and even Sister Abhaya's family demanded a deeper investigation. Their persistence led to the case being handed over to the crime branch. However, even they failed to provide any answers. The real breakthrough came when the case was given to the Central Bureau of Investigation, CBI, in 1993. The CBI suspected a cover-up and decided to conduct a thorough re-examination of the evidence. It was then that the horrifying truth started to emerge. As the CBI investigators dug deeper into Sister Abhaya's case, they began to uncover shocking irregularities. The most alarming discovery was that the original autopsy report had been tampered with. Important forensic evidence, such as bruises on Sister Abhaya's body, had been deliberately hidden or destroyed. The CBI decided to exhume the case files and start fresh. During their questioning, they discovered that on the night before her death, Sister Abhaya had woken up early to prepare for her studies. As she walked into the kitchen to get some water, she witnessed something she was never meant to see. Inside the kitchen, she allegedly saw two priests and another nun, Sister Sephi, in a compromising situation. The moment they realized they had been caught, panic set in. Sister Abhaya was an innocent soul, but she was also honest and devout. There was no way she would stay silent about what she had seen. Fearing that she might expose them, the three decided to silence her forever. What happened next was cold-blooded murder. The CBI's findings were horrifying. According to their report, Sister Abhaya was struck on the head with a blunt object, possibly an axe handle or a heavy torchlight. She lost consciousness instantly. In a desperate attempt to erase their crime, the three conspirators carried her unconscious body to the well and threw her inside bread. What followed was one of the most elaborate cover-ups in Indian crime history. The convent, instead of seeking justice for Sister Abhaya, actively protected the suspects. Evidence was destroyed, witnesses were silenced, and for years, the case remained buried under lies. But the CBI was not about to let the truth stay hidden. Despite the pressure from powerful religious and political circles, they kept pushing forward. In 2008, the investigation finally made a major breakthrough: a confession from an insider. A forensic expert revealed that crucial test results had been manipulated, proving beyond doubt that Sister Abhaya's death was a murder. The walls were finally closing in on the killers. Despite the long delays and cover-ups, the CBI refused to back down. Finally, after nearly 16 years of relentless investigation, they gathered enough evidence to arrest Father Thomas Couture, Father Jose Puthrakayil, and Sister Sephi in 2008. The news shocked the entire country. How could men of faith commit such a horrific crime? But the case was far from over. The accused denied all charges, and their powerful connections within the church helped them secure bail. For years, the case remained stuck in legal battles, as the accused used every loophole to escape justice. Meanwhile, Sister Abhaya's parents, supporters, and human rights activists continued to fight for justice. Public outrage grew as people demanded accountability. The case went through multiple courts, with witnesses changing statements under pressure. Then, in 2018, forensic evidence was re-examined, and a key witness came forward, someone who had been silenced for years. His testimony changed everything. The key witness was a forensic expert who had examined Sister Abhaya's body in 1992. He confirmed that her injuries were consistent with blunt force trauma, not an accident. More importantly, he revealed that higher authorities had pressured him to change his report. With this new evidence, the court reopened the case. The CBI once again arrested Father Thomas Couture and Sister Abhaya in 2020. This time they couldn't escape. The trial was intense. Witnesses testified about threats, bribery, and decades of cover-ups. The public watched every detail unfold as the case that had haunted India for nearly 30 years was finally coming to a close. Then, on December 22, 2020, the verdict was announced. Father Thomas Couture and Sister Abhaya were found guilty of murder and sentenced to life in prison. The conviction of Father Thomas Couture and Sister Abhaya was a historic moment. After nearly 3 decades, justice had finally been served. But the case also raised disturbing questions. How could a religious institution protect murderers for so long? Many in the Catholic Church tried to distance themselves from the case, claiming it was an isolated incident. But activists argued that the cover-up had been systematic, and many powerful figures had ensured the case remained buried for years. The case also set a legal precedent. It proved that no one, not even religious leaders, was above the law. It was a victory for truth, but it had come at a heavy cost. Witnesses had suffered, and Sister Abhaya's parents never lived to see justice for their daughter. In the end, the verdict brought closure to a case that had haunted India for nearly 3 decades, but it also served as a reminder: the fight for truth is never easy, but it must never stop. Even after the conviction, the case of Sister Abhaya's murder remained a symbol of how difficult it is to fight against corruption and power. The Catholic Church, despite the overwhelming evidence, never publicly acknowledged the crime. Instead, they continued to defend the accused, claiming they were wrongfully convicted. Some supporters of the accused even called the verdict a conspiracy against the Church, further fueling controversy and division. Meanwhile, legal teams for Father Thomas Couture and Sister Abhaya immediately announced that they would appeal the decision, hoping to get their sentences overturned. But the evidence against them was strong, and public support for justice was unwavering. The CBI and human rights activists ensured that the case would not be buried again. The verdict sent a powerful message. Even those who try to hide behind faith and power cannot escape justice forever. Despite the victory, the case left behind many painful scars. The truth had taken 28 years to emerge, and in that time, many of the key witnesses had either passed away or had their lives destroyed. The fight for justice had come at a great personal cost to many individuals who had risked their safety to reveal the truth. For those who followed the case closely, the psychological impact of Sister Abhaya's murder and the cover-up was deep and unsettling. The very institution that was supposed to protect and guide people morally had harbored criminals. This case also raised important questions. How many other crimes have been covered up? How many innocent people have suffered in silence? While Sister Abhaya's case finally received justice, many similar cases never do. The conviction of the accused brought some closure, but for many, it was too little, too late. Sister Abhaya's parents had passed away without seeing justice, and many witnesses had endured years of threats and intimidation. It was a victory, but at a heartbreaking cost. In the end, this case was a testament to the resilience of truth. It showed that even when the odds seem impossible, persistence and courage can bring justice, even if it takes decades. The case of Sister Abhaya is more than just a crime story. It is a lesson in perseverance, truth, and the fight against corruption. It exposed the flaws in the justice system, the powerful influence of institutions, and the importance of never giving up on seeking the truth. For many, This case represents a turning point. Proof that no one, no matter how powerful, is above the law. It also inspired many activists and investigative journalists to dig deeper into cases of corruption and abuse hidden within powerful institutions. Sister Abhaya murder case will forever be remembered as a landmark in India's legal history. It took 28 years, multiple investigations, and relentless determination, but justice was finally served. The verdict may not bring Sister Abhaya back, but it ensured that her story will never be forgotten. As we close this chapter, let us not forget the lessons learned from this case. Truth may take time, but it always prevails. And for every injustice that remains hidden, there are people willing to fight for justice, no matter how long it takes. Keep the fight for justice alive. The story of Sister Abhaya is a reminder that justice is never instant, but it is worth fighting for. This case proved that, even against powerful forces, truth can prevail. But how many more cases like this remain hidden? What do you think about this case? Was justice truly served, or were there others who escaped punishment? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this story important, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to help spread awareness about true crime cases that deserve justice. Justice may take time, but it always prevails. And for every injustice that remains hidden, there are people willing to fight for the truth, no matter how long it takes.